Hello and welcome to another Jim's Monday Malt Samples. Yes, hello and welcome once again. It is Monday. It's been a while. I was going to say it's a quiet room tonight, but they're coming in now. Cresimir, good to see you. George Kaplan, Graham Horner, good to see you guys. Hopefully we will be joined by more. We will be joined, and he is sitting, waiting patiently, and it's great to see him, by my good friend, Gregoire of Greg's Whiskey Guide. Greg, hello and welcome.
Yay. Hi, Jim. Thanks for having me in. Hi, everybody. Lots of people already. Very cool. Cresimir, George, Graham.
Whiskey Blair, yep.
Al.
Whiskey Straight Al.
Fantastic, guys.
Good to see you. Listen, we're here again and we're talking, we seem to be spending our time talking about Irish whiskey on here, but that's not a bad thing. That's not bad thing. Actually, I like the fact that because an awful lot of us know, and we all like our Scotch, we all like our bourbons, but I like the fact that people like yourself and Whiskey Jason and there's others out there around Europe and whatnot championing Irish whiskey and still, you know, it's there and it's not going away. As a matter of fact, it's becoming bigger.
Oh yeah.
And bolder. What is it? I'm gonna, as I say, I was gonna go a whole full introduction and tell it and ask you about yourself and tell everybody who you are. But if there's anybody in here that doesn't know who you are by now,
oh, there still are. I'm a wee channel. I'm a very small channel.
I would say you're not that small. We know you. But what is it? Let's see. What is it about Irish whiskey in particular that draws you?
You mean what turns me on?
Yeah.
What was the first I had, for instance? That's a great and difficult question. Probably the regular Jameson, original. And I had quickly the occasion to get into Cooley's creations that were in France. There was a time, I think around 2005, something like that, where they were very well distributed, and Cooley was very strong in France. So we had both sorry, I didn't set up all these bottles I have in my collection, but because I have some Connemoras and Tyrconnels. You saw some in our Irish live.
That's
together.
Correct.
Maybe some people could have a look as well after that. So I had the Tyrconnell, which is the unpeated version, single malt of Cooley. The regular one, which was I began with very cheap whiskies, and it was 25 euros, something like that, for 7 years old, single malt, very floral, very fruity, very nice. Sorry, and then I had the Connemara peated, the 40%, but mostly I fell in love with the cask strength, which was a monster. The first peat monster from contemporary Ireland, because as people might probably not know, if we go back to 19th century, everything was peated in Scotland and in Ireland, right? So
that's correct.
So going in reverse, maybe we're gonna see. I see maybe Dingle has a project also. We're gonna see maybe more peated whiskies coming in Ireland. I don't know.
Do you? Sorry, I know you love the whiskey. They seem to. I mean, the history as well seems to have a great appeal to you. The likes of
Bushmills. Everything Celtic. Even if I'm not completely into that, I don't have all the scenery stuff. The histories, the legends, the movies, everything. I'm not completely into that, but I have to be a bit, because there's so much beauty in that, so much genuine culture around, from Brittany in France here to Wales to some parts of Scotland to Ireland. so there's the strong link in there. I don't know the word in English, but transasiatic. I don't know, some old difficult names. So there's a tradition that's very appealing to me because there's some beautiful art and craft stuff. I'm a painter basically, so very sensitive to Celtic imagery, let's say, to make it shorter. And also music. I love Irish music for a long time, whether it's Lorena McKennitt, Clannad, also some metal bands, Primordial, and others. Thin Lizzy, you do best, so you know. So there's a link connected with many things way before I started being interested in whiskey, in Irish whiskey in particular. So, and also I have to say the Connemara packaging were beautiful, and also the Tyrconnell packaging was some of the first. I don't know if I can put, just if I can grab one. Oh yes. Sorry for the noise. This is one of the oldest.
That's right. Yeah.
Tyrconnell, no age statement, but it's 7 years old. And this is a beautiful bottle. I love the packaging. This is more simple in there than in the. This is engraved with all the traditional things.
It'll be nice to see. Yeah, I have one of the newer Tyrconnell tins up there. I was just looking, but it'll be nice to see. It's the
Donna Pass,
Raddick, David Owen. Good to see you guys. Whiskey Graham. Good to see you. But yes, no, I appreciate the fact, as I say, that and it's yet again, I like your diversity. I like the way you'll sway.
I'm curious.
Yeah, exactly. That's whiskey curious. Well, that's a good way to be. And I mean, we're gonna be drinking some.
Yeah. We're here for that also. Also, maybe.
Right enough. Well, as I say,
there has been some suspense about what we're drinking, right? Maybe we can tell people. Samples lost, samples found.
Well, yes, because that's correct. That's where I was just about to go.
Oh,
Greg and I did an Irish. Oops. Sorry. Greg and I did a live on St. Patrick's Day, and we built this up over a while, and it was looking good. It was all going well, but obviously things changed. Things happened around the same time, and what I had sent Greg and what he had sent me, neither of them reached their destinations in time. So it all fell through a bit, but we still, I think you'll agree, Greg, had a good time and still drank plenty and still enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah. And we finally received the samples from one another.
Exactly.
Much late after the live, but we have them today, some of them. So I'm happy about that.
So this has been in the planning now. I wanted to get back to it because obviously we waited long enough for these. And everybody, the reason, I've said it before, but part of the reason for this live is so as I can actually get into my sample collection and enjoy them, if possible, with the people that actually sent me them, because I know some people don't want to do YouTube. Fair enough. That's totally understandable. But I always like to let the people who's given me the samples know what I thought of them rather than just tasting them and forgetting about them.
Yeah, it's important to have feedback.
So this is actually the blind sample.
Okay.
And I'm not going to lie to anyone, as I didn't lie to you either, Greg, and tell them, because you did actually tell me what it was at the time.
Yeah, because I thought it was... You will never had it, so maybe I had to.
But I really cannot remember.
And he didn't remember, which is great. Hi, by the way, Pete Head, Luna Aran, lots of great people. Toby, usual suspects, some we should say, but in a good way.
Yeah, definitely. They keep us grounded. St. Francis, good to see you.
Hi.
So yes.
Okay, so let's go for the nose. Yeah, what do you think of the nose?
It's fresh. I find it very fresh. Uh, it's quite. Whenever I nosed this a moment ago, there was something I was looking for then, and I still can't find it.
It's complex. It evolves a lot.
Yeah, and
There's a lot of complexity in there.
It's kind of I want to say mossy. It's almost a mossy, earthy, grassy thing going in there.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's like fresh grass.
Yeah, but you will see not so much on the palate, and even on the nose, it evolves a bit according to temperature, moisture, etc. But there's something really that's there. Once you know it, you say, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, because as I said, whenever I opened the bottle, opened the sample and poured it in, first reaction was it's Bushmills something, just the first initial reaction. But now that I'm getting my nose in there again, I'm not 100% sure because as much as it's got that sweetness, fresh fruit thing
A lot of
of
fruits, and maybe some you don't think of usually.
peach. I'm getting peach now.
Yeah. You have some exotic fruits, maybe.
David Owen's asking what we're drinking. I don't know yet.
We're having a blind.
Yeah, this is
we're having
first blind. It's
have the
40%.
bottle here.
It's 40%,
40%,
and it's unpeated. That much I know.
Yeah, correct. Oh, Graham is cracking a legendary sample.
Legendary. That was I sent him a sample of the Trésor Legendaire, the one from
that's I didn't understand
from the Jura region.
You know what, guys? I don't even know that one.
Yeah,
I saw it on the shelves and I was staying a bit away.
I wouldn't say you're not missing anything. It's not bad. It feels like Scotch, and I would imagine it probably is Scotch.
It's sourced.
Yeah.
I know it's sourced from a foreign country. It's not French whiskey. Like I have some doubts about another brand. I don't want to mess up with them, but there's some brands here sold by foreign people. That's for me. I tried one at Whiskey Live, and this is whiskey. Oh my God! Starts with a B, but I won't say more.
No, but I'll let you do that on your own channel.
I don't like the overall. It doesn't sound genuine at all. It doesn't sound something. Oh, hi, Frederick.
Frederick, good to see you.
Oh, Frederick, you know what? Today, Serge Valentin did a review about several Grittitan lost distillery from Sweden. So he's beat us. He's published things before us, if I may say. Check it out. And he gives good rates. Okay, go.
I'm going to go onto the palate in this, if you don't mind.
Cheers. Cheers, everyone.
Ooh. It's incredibly.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, it's incredibly gentle.
Would you say if I haven't said 40%?
Yeah, I would still have suggested it was quite low.
This is powerful in flavors, right?
Yeah, the flavor's all there, but there's no big alcohol kick off it.
Yeah, okay, I agree. This is one of the best. I think the most complex and the most balanced from this brand I ever had, and the highest rate I ever gave, except some single cask.
What actually annoys me is that.
Yeah, tell the truth.
What annoys me is that you've told me what this is, and
now you remember.
No. I remember you telling me how good you thought it was, but it's annoying me that I cannot remember what it was. And I was going to go back. I was actually going to go back and watch the video again, but that would have been cheating. And I just
no. Thank you for that.
But it is. It's lovely. It's lovely and round and nice and gentle in the back of the palate. It does. I would say there has to be a bit of age with this, surely.
Oh my God. Also, well, so yeah, let's guess the age.
Um,
Approximately.
Approximately. I would say
Oh,
it's
hell.
probably. I would say it's over 15 anyway.
Ah, interesting. It is not.
Oh,
Believe me or not, it's under 15.
under 15. And it's Irish, as we know. 10?
No.
No. 12.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
12 years old.
Well, it was.
And it is not the space side. Just a wink to Roy in case.
Yeah, I'm not going to live that one down for a while.
But the area question is interesting.
I'm still good because it still feels like Bushmills
Yeah.
on the palate to me. And it is, it's nice, it's round. It's an awful lot. It's 12-year-old. It's an awful, I would say, drinking it here now, it's better than the 12-year-old Distiller Select or whatever
Oh,
one they
good
call
to know. Good to know.
Distillery Reserve, the one that I have, because it just to me doesn't work. But I've been caught out with it in blind challenges before.
Okay, so shall I reveal what it is partly? That is only the brand.
Yeah,
So it is Bushmills.
it is
Congrats.
Bushmills.
Yeah, it has an unmistakably style of Bushmills.
I think I've actually remembered what you told me this is.
Yeah, there's two type of casks involved.
Is this an
There's
indie?
a finish.
Is this
No,
an indie bottling?
no,
No, it
no,
is
it's not
special
indie
bottling.
because the one I talked to you about, I have repackaged it. I dropped the air and I have rewrapped it to wait for a few months to see if it recovers because there was a big loss of inside a bottle with a cork, and I was very upset about
Yeah,
that. So I cannot send you this in the state where it is and also assess it myself.
yeah.
So I said, let's put it back and wait if it recovers. So no, it's not this one. It's one I have for a long time. Actually, let me check while you having it. You can put a few drops in it, but only one or two because it's so delicate you might destroy it.
I would even because
No,
you
don't
were
do it. Don't feel it.
you were
And
in
I,
the last time whenever I looked at the
yeah, you were. No, don't do it then.
1608 and water to me and Bushmills just don't mix.
Oh, I forgot. A mistake. Sorry. It's triple wood.
Oh,
I thought it was only two. Uh, I think it was probably 2007, something like that.
right. Right. As I say, right. So it's 12-year-old, it's Bushmills, it's triple wood.
Yeah.
So is it Madeira that's involved in it, or is it just
No. So
no?
bourbon. Okay, bourbon sherry. You're almost sure about that.
Mm-hmm. And not
And,
Madeira.
and that's interesting compared to the 21 we will have after that.
Yeah.
Because there's three casks involved in there. I forgot there was the second one, honestly. So bourbon, sherry, and there's another.
Oh yes, that was Madeira. Oh, it could be. Is it? It's not
Pine,
a cake.
pine, I get pineapple, Jim. Sorry to interrupt you. I get pineapple. I get pear drops.
Yeah, certainly
I
pear.
get
I
some
got.
beautiful floral notes and a
Yep.
typical note from the last maturation, or say finishes, rather finish than a maturation, which is typical. But if I tell you that what it is, you will instantly.
Greg, you know more. You know an awful lot more about this stuff than I do. So I
No,
could poke
no, I
around all
just know this bottle.
and still maybe not get this.
Yeah, we'll try just a few drops.
It is.
And then what I wanted to say it right to the end, and also as a retro olfaction, as we say in French, the note we have when we have swallowed and it's coming back from the nose and then on the
Yes.
palate beautifully is kind of peacock's tail. So for me, it's the blackcurrant bud, which is
Right.
the typical note from pot still whiskies, but also from single malts that have some kind of pot still taste in it, redbreast, etc. But for single malt, I love this blackcurrant bud, and it comes for me across beautifully there. And curiously, the finishes shouldn't do that, but it has been made for me so beautifully that it still highlights the Bushmill style while going much exotic somewhere else.
It could even be the power of suggestion, but I swear I'm even getting blackcurrant on the nose now.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy
Yeah.
Jazz is in. Good to see you. But it
Yeah.
is.
Thank you.
It's
Thumbs up.
it's
Yeah.
very, very pleasant. It's
And
Bushmills. It's soft. It's gentle.
but don't you find it's very complex? It's really
You see, yet again, I think this is maybe where I'm missing in Bushmills, or what I'm missing in Bushmills. That
ABV.
to get well, we know we're missing ABV in it, but it's when you get deep into it, it has got a lot of stuff going on. But I just don't find it interacting enough at
Oh.
the forefront. For I'm going to say that. I mean a lot of the original, the Black Bush. As I did say to you earlier, that I do
Mhm.
like the red, and I do like the 10-year-old. I do find the 10-year-old fresh, fruity,
Well,
and the 1608, which you
I
sent
would
me, which was
I would say it's the 1608 is obviously much more powerful, and
mhm.
probably not only because of the 46%, but maybe because of the recipe.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a guess. But this one, I love the complexity.
I'm
There's some
surprised.
elegance.
I'm surprised
This
for all I had in that, and for the two or three drops of water has actually helped that really blossomed there.
Me too. Mm. Oh my God, this blackcurrant bud note is so beautiful in there. Too bad it's something that's not on the market now. Maybe secondary market, I don't know. It was a travel retail, by the way, edition.
It's not. It's not a. No, it's not a
What?
steamship because they're not. Yeah,
No,
they don't have any
no,
steamers.
way before that.
Yeah.
Anybody has a guess? Radek says Bushmills Indie Bottling. No, I have one, but it's not. It's an official one. The travel retail was sold in France by Miracle some time ago. And it's not the triple wood either, David, which I still need to get home. I don't have it.
No,
By the way, the triple wood 16 doesn't have this finish. It's a very specific finish. And I found, because the indie bottle I have has also this finish, this type of finish goes pretty well with the Bushmill style.
mhm.
I've tried 4 or 5 different of this finish, and it always works with Bushmills. I don't know
They
why.
don't. They don't have. Do they use an acacia? They don't have an acacia finish, do they?
No, 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 no. It's oak, but
Right. No, you've
what?
got me, Greg. You have me beaten.
Okay, you want to know?
I
You want
will.
to know? It's a rum finish,
Ah,
Caribbean rum finish. It's a 12 years old, select casks, Caribbean rum finish,
well, there
and
you
here's
go.
the color.
And I did not remember you telling me that was the line. That you completely
That's
had.
cool. So yeah, married with Caribbean rum finish, 12 years old, 1 liter bottle. And I bought only one. I should have bought 2 or 3. It's so good. Around 50 euros. Can you believe that? 1 liter
Sort
for
of thing.
such a.
I would say probably the only rum finishes I've had are like the Balvenie and things like that.
Mhm.
So it's not something that I drink an awful lot of,
Okay.
and I don't drink
Oh,
an
but
awful.
it's very sweet there, right? It's not a crushing,
No, no, no,
sugary rum.
definitely not. And you were 100% right about that blackcurrant. I, I wouldn't have actually picked it out, and
It's so Irish.
people say about the power of suggestion, but it's not. It is 100% in there.
It's so Irish for me. If I have to define Irish whiskey, I would put this up. Say, yeah. And also, it was a tribute to you because you're very close to the distillery.
I know. And I keep saying bad things about it.
How many times did you visit it?
I think I've only actually been there maybe 3 times, but it's just, to me, it just doesn't get any better. I just don't think they do a great tour. I just think they glance over all the good stuff, and
is the tour interesting for people who don't know much about Irish whiskey?
I didn't find it very interesting, and Phil from Malt Review, who was on here 2 weeks ago, doesn't like it, and he lives closer to it than I do, and he says the same. It's a quick.
How would you define it?
It's very. They literally go. And I mean, there was people asking questions on the tour of the tour guide. They were asking him questions that he didn't know the answers to, which I did.
It's classic. It's a classic.
And I found myself. And then when we got to the end of the tour guide said "Sláinte" and set his glass down, and that's okay. I mean, I didn't think anything of it because he maybe had the drive, whatever. But somebody said, "You didn't drink," and he says, "Oh no, I don't drink alcohol." And I thought to myself, you've just spent the last hour and a half telling us how good Bushmills whiskey is, but how would you know?
But how does it look like? A very generic distillery tour?
Yeah.
Not as like a Scottish single malt tour, you would say.
No, it's a long time from I've been on a Scottish single malt tours. It's probably 14 years since I was on my last one, but it's not a good tour in my opinion. So
kind of industrial.
Yeah,
feeling it belongs to a big company.
Yeah,
that's disappointing because people are gonna go from far to visit it and create expectations. But
it's the history that comes with it, and you and I know that Bushmills claim things that they are not. They claim that they're, they're 1608 and all that there, but at the same time, they are capable of good things. To me, they're capable of better things. Phil and I discussed this recently. Yes, New Dram Drinkers in. Good to see you. Paul Gibbs is also in, and I missed Toby from Whiskey Shared is about as well, and Des.
Yeah, so okay, let's forget about the tour. Anyway, if I come there, I will visit you as well as I visit the distillery. So 2 things.
I will take you when things get better and you come here. As I've told you this before, I will certainly by all means take you to Bushmills, and you can make it. But what I would like to do, if you're ever here, because I want to do this myself, is visit, because I think the visit of places like Cologne, and some of these newer distilleries,
Dingle maybe,
even
it's far from where you are.
Yeah, it's quite a bit away, but I want to go down. I still want to do Waterford. I want to do these ones. So Matt's Cigars and Whiskies in. Good evening, Matt. But these distilleries, I want to see them. But this was going to be my year that I was going to do all these tours and go and meet up. All that.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people pissed off by what's going on now.
But as I said to somebody else, Greg, we're all in the same position, so it'd be different if it was. So, now that is a completely different note. Sorry, I've just left at the Bushmills 21.
Yeah, we're going to it anyway.
So Bushmills 21. Now this is sherry, bourbon, sherry, and Madeira.
And this is it.
And incredibly rare. It says rare on the box, but it is incredibly rare, is it not?
Everything rare, extremely rare. Glenmorangie, 18 years old. Extremely rare. I did an entire video about that. Extremely rare. 1,500 bottles. For France, multiply this, so probably 10,000, 20,000. Very extremely rare. Well,
It's an,
some bottle 3 or 5.
it's an
Yeah,
interesting nose too.
very
See,
complex as well. The sherry is heavy, so
mm,
that has to be a second choice for the evening. And I did a bet that was very risky. I put the last one, which is a blended whiskey,
mhm,
after the 2 single malts. Not because there's a higher ABV, but because the profile is even heavier for me. Despite
mhm.
there's a
Right.
softness, creaminess, that's sherry. That's very rich. It has evolved since I poured it. It's developing a lot. I poured it 20 minutes ago in my glass,
Mhm.
25 minutes. Now I get some notes I never had. Can you believe that?
I'm
Uh,
getting, and maybe I'm wrong, but the first thing I got was celery, strangely.
oh, yeah, maybe.
But
Yeah,
that's
there's some
actually
kind of
it was there, but it's gone already. It's become richer now and fuller.
there's some kind of sourness.
Yeah.
I have also a sherry with some kind of sourness. For those who don't know, it's a 19 years old plus 20 years old bourbon casks married with so American oak and married with sherry butts, European oak sherry butts. For those who don't know, the butts are usually 480 to 520 liters. And then one more than 1 year, so almost 2 years in Madeira drums, and the drums are even bigger casks, 600 to 600. If I can read my notes, 50 even, yeah, liters. So big casks. The contact is not so big, and for 1 year only, the impact is moderate. I love Madeira finishes. I'm gonna do this whole video about Madeira finishes.
I like Madeira finishes. I,
Tyrconnell Madeira, 10.
mhm.
Fantastic stuff.
I think I still you gave me a sample of it, and I still have it. I'll try it some other night.
Yeah.
But
She,
you're right. There is a sour note on that, but the
very,
sherry
yeah.
the sherry balances it out too. That
There's some dark chocolate for me in there. What did I wrote? Yeah, ripe fruit, the blackberry. I have to translate some, so that's why I'm looking. There's some licorice for me as well. Some black tea, some green tea, and some eucalyptus I had on the nose.
licorice I'm getting.
And I go in depth
Yep.
because it's a bit difficult with the headphones.
No
I
licorice,
love it. I
definitely.
love it. Honestly, it's a beautiful reference. I had the chance to have it half price. Sorry,
Mhm.
guys. So that's why it's less painful. Now it's retailing around 150 or more, right?
But I have to bring it up again. Bottled at 40%, and it just
I know, but
now. In fairness, we did say this was discussed last night, and I would 100% say that on the nose, it doesn't matter whether it's 40% or not. It's still great, you know. But my thing is always surely there was a point somewhere above that as well where it was great, if not greater.
what is a GBL? Says Pithead. I don't know.
JBL on your head, on my head.
No, apparently it's for me.
It's your headphones, maybe the
Uh,
JBL headphones.
oh yeah, GBL. Well
Yeah,
done. Oh,
they're
it's
good.
very good.
They're a good make.
Oh my God, we have specialists in there.
So
Hi,
yes,
Moses.
I'm
Yeah,
going to try this.
yeah. Cheers, my friend. Cheers,
Cheers.
everyone. I don't know if you guys in the chat have tasted it. What's your thoughts on this?
I think Radek. Did I see Radek had tried it or?
Mm. Wow, this is thick for 40%. And me, bear in mind, well, I find this is fantastic. I don't come, but in my experience, started with the blended whiskies at 40. So I tried a lot of them. I have, I think, probably 30 different blended whiskies from Scotland here.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried probably 500 or more. And also I tried to recreate them in different circumstances. So I'm very trained to that. I'm not shocked by the 40%. And as always, I will say there's some I tried in 20 years, some whiskeys that were very harsh at 40%, and some that were very sweet at 60.
Yep.
Oh, thanks. Thanks a lot.
So I just want to make sure you said that.
And I have to thank Google Chrome for that. And I don't know who in the chat that talked about that, because on Firefox is bullshit. I have to use the old camera, which is blurry, which is less interesting. So with that, I'm going to be now able to show you the bottles much better. Even you can see the engraving, the beautiful, the steel that's showed there. You see, that's fantastic. Oh. And yeah, also the bottles are numbered. So this is a bottle from 2014, number 5265. So that's a nice thing, I think, to have, like the Middleton Very Rare. There's this some dates in it, so you can know.
You know where I'm going to go with this?
Yeah, dark chocolate, maybe.
I'm getting blackcurrant again. I have see since you've put blackcurrant into my head, and it's all in the finish.
Yeah.
And there's something else.
Don't you find dark chocolate something like that very?
You know what I'm doing? The nose is fantastic.
Mm.
It's rich. You can smell age in there.
Oh yeah.
It's nice and round and gentle. It's not jumping out of the glass and trying to fight you. It's to me, that's the settlement of age. The palate actually is the bit for me that pulls this back a bit, because the finish is fantastic as well. The palate itself just goes a little thin, I think.
I know there's divided opinion about this one, but I have to disagree with you, and also to tell people, I think you're used to it, it's also the reason, but coming from Scotch, this is triple distilled, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this has to be in a way more sophisticatedly, I don't know how to explain that, even in French. This has to be a bit thinner in a way, a bit more refined, if I can say. It's maybe the word. So there's something that's more sophisticated and that's not straight in your face. And if I correct me if I'm wrong, red-breasted is double distilled, not triple, right? Or I'm not sure about that. Not sure about that.
I'm not 100% sure myself off the top of my head.
If anyone knows for sure.
Do you mean just the all red breast?
Yeah.
Not 100% sure myself. It is, don't get me wrong, Greg, and I really, really appreciate you sharing it. But just as I say, being honest,
no.
Beautiful nose, beautiful finish, which is something that to me sometimes gets forgotten about. Now I'm going to say this to you. This is what you've got over me and a lot of other people in the whiskey world, I think. You've been around and come back again. And that I would say at some point you grow to enjoy more a finesse like this.
Yeah,
I think that's the way I'm trying to explain it. You know, that it's a whiskey that's finessed, it's got age, you will find more delicate things in the palate.
Probably I get totally your point and understand where you come from. That's only 40% version of this and you want more. For me, it's probably because I would say clearly this is a single malt, but it ticks the bells mostly of the blended whiskey category in a way. I think it's designed to be a single malt that's as refined and not only balanced but rounded as a cognac or a blended whiskey. And when I say cognac, I said commercial, not necessarily bad, but massive mass market cognacs. They're looking for roundness and to satisfy everyone. But trying to satisfy everyone, the most demanding people could be put off by the ABV and the fact they're searching for more flavors. But while I understand that, I'm satisfied with that. And I gave him 92.5 out of 100, considering how complex it is and how beautifully crafted it is. By the way, I told you, I think in the live we did on my channel, but not everyone knows, and I learned that by chance a few years ago. This 21 years old was created by Billy Layton, the current master blender from Middleton, before he was fully working for Jameson and Middleton. So that's amazing. And I have another story, and I have, another story to tell, which really puzzled me. And I have to, I think it was Carl. I don't know if Carl is in the chat tonight, but because he asked me a question, I have, no, Stefan Novak. I have to check out. Okay, thanks to.
Just saying that.
I'm not sure.
I couldn't remember, so I just wanted to thank you, Toby.
Thanks. So yeah, I discovered while I was answering to someone in the chat of my own live, he asked for, because I talked about Springbank and Frank McCarty, which is a master blender and also master distiller, prestigious, absolutely wonderful guy. I met several times. I have dinner even with him. I'm very humbled for that. And I interviewed him in 2008. So this guy in the chat wanted to have the English version, and I released on my website only the French one, and I have to add now the English one. I forgot, but while checking the interview, I found something that I completely forgot, and you will understand what. Between 1986 and 1996, guess who was working at the Bushmills distillery? Frank McCarty. That was going to work for Springbank after that. Absolutely. And even was there before at Springbank.
Yeah.
And then also I discovered he directed Brooklady in 1973.
Right.
Then Tamnavulin, and after taking care of Kilkerran, which everybody knows probably, Glengyle. Now he's in Australia taking care of Dartmoor single malt distillery. So,
wow.
But it was at Bushmills in 1986. Yeah. For a decade, he ran Bushmills. He helped to run Bushmills. Can you believe that?
He has been around too. That's incredible.
Yeah, I really check out the interview, guys. It's very interesting.
Greg, so I have to say, the longer this goes, the better.
Yeah, I think for this kind of things, we're live now. We have to be careful of the timing, but you have to let a lot of time in the glass, these kind of things, and spend a lot of time with it.
I could easily take an hour, 1 hour, 1.5 hours over a glass that size. Whiskey. Sorry, Paul Gibbs asked the question there a while ago. What percentage of the whiskey I have is Irish? Not that it really matters, Paul, but about a third of what I've got is Irish. Now, that being said, I've only got probably 120 bottles, so that's not, a third of that isn't an awful lot. I don't buy Irish anymore at the minute because I don't have the money to buy the good old stuff, and I won't buy the new stuff because it comes from a different distillery or come from one of 3 distilleries, and I just would rather wait to see what they can put out themselves.
I have 26 bottles, for those who wonder, from Ireland.
I'm going to keep this, Greg, and put a
Yeah,
cap
yeah,
on it
yeah.
because I want to try that again later. I don't want to let too much air at it, but and have a sip, cleanse my palate
Oh,
again.
Menno is there. Hi, Menno. And I saw something weird. Somebody said to recreate this at 46, but I'm not the master blender, not yet.
That was something before we get on to the third sample. That was something I wanted to discuss with you.
Yeah.
Was blending. You like
Oh yeah, I
you
love it.
yet again. This was another reason why I wanted to have you on because you and I have discussed this before. And blending, not that blending is a thing of the past by any means, but it's certainly not the trend at the minute because I think
Oh,
single. Well, I would say
not
for
sure
what
about.
probably single malts maybe still now certainly in a certain area blends are the thing, but even to get back, I mean, when you look at, we were talking earlier on, you were warming up with a Bushmills original, and I'll not tell anybody what you drank it out of, but uh, but it's it's getting back to what I would consider old school blending, and it's still there. There's still that thread, and this is what I wanted to discuss with you because
Yeah,
you would be
tell me.
very much a fan of what I would consider old school blending, single grain, single malt, and whatever in there together, and it's a skill that to me needs to be brought back. Not a, because the guys that know what they're doing are still around, but more so for those that are becoming new to whiskey and whatnot, not to forget these skills because I mean, getting a blend to that quality surely has to be
It's a lot of work.
so much
It
experience.
experience. It's need
Yeah,
experience. I don't know what you want to know in your question, but
I'm just glad that
I can
you've
answer.
mentioned before that
Yeah.
you really do appreciate that sort of thing, the blends and what you
Oh yeah, and I
you
create even
appreciate skill.
on my little scale, on my very little scale from bottles. I create blends from 2005, and it's by trying to recreate something that was in the spirit of what John Glaser did, because I was very impressed of what I saw him do when I visited Whiskey Life Paris 2005. I first discovered what John was doing in 2004, but I was too intimidated. It was only 4 years or something like that. I was starting to learn about whiskey and try whiskeys. So I was a bit intimidated, but I did some contests that encouraged me in that way. Like I said somewhere, and you have that on my reference pages. I did blend. I was chosen by a great bartender from France, from Hotel Regina. Can you believe that? Big luxury hotel. To go on with him at the professional whiskey blending challenge from Pernod Ricard. So normally I'm not admitted in this kind of places, but the guy, I saw the guy several times in his bar, and okay, he said you're good, etc. I don't want to say things about, and he said, come with me, do this challenge. We must be two at a time, and we're competing against 50 other duets.
Right.
And we have to recreate Chivas Regal 12,
Right.
simplified recipe, in front of the maker, Colin Scott,
Wow.
around 70 years old guy in front of us, very intimidating. And we had 6 samples before us, not more. It's a simplified version he did.
Uh-huh.
So we had the whiskey he did for us, and we had 6 samples, blind samples. We had 2 hours to try to recreate it. And one of the 6 was a single grain, the others were single malt. And we didn't know nothing about them, and we had to recreate it. They worked quite well. We were the 4th ones of the duets awarded, and I still have the award here.
Right.
It's not something certification stuff. It's something I'm gonna
No, but
probably enter it now, but
But you see, this is what I'm
Now,
sort of angling at because I'm that's incredible.
yeah,
That sounds it sounds great fun and just something. But I mean, that's a skill in its own. Trying to
yeah, but it
narrow
was
because
just Jimmy was just the start. So then I did
yeah,
another contest the same year, and I regret this doesn't go on now because it should interest a lot of people. I did a contest for Whiskey Magazine France, and it was a much bigger one with a lot of blind samples, and we had to assess a lot of things, explain what is a whiskey, what is our guess on age, style, region, but
hmm,
also which kind of pairing we could do with it, which was very difficult. And we were 650 candidates, and I arrived 12 position.
wow,
And because I was not in the 10 first, I was not highlighted anywhere in newspaper and stuff and in the
hmm,
magazine, so just on internet.
right
So it
here,
didn't brought too much attention. But me, I was trained then, and when I met, to put a long story short, when I tasted first time the Compass Box works, I first I love the artistic approach. That's why I think we get along well together and
hmm,
some kind of friendship with John. And I said, this is interesting, this is appealing to me. Let's try to recreate the spirit of what he does with a simple, we sample 6 centiliter stuff. And I did in my small room. And then a year after, I brought this to him with a whole concept. Sorry if I'm repeating the story for some,
hmm,
which was at the time completely new for everyone except for Jim McEwen doing that in his lab, but I didn't
hmm,
knew it. While he was preparing Celtic Nations that was to be released later on, which was a blended malt of Scottish and Irish whiskies,
yeah,
me, without knowing it's going to be released after that, I created a whiskey I called Irini, which is peace, because I've been very much struck by the conflicts and very hard times from between Irish Northern Ireland and
hmm,
British government. I was struck by that. U2 songs, etc. You know that a
yeah,
bit because I did some things with you, and so I tried to give a message, maybe naive, of
hmm,
peace, bringing the Tyrconnell Connemara with Springbank with several other
right,
whiskies, and I gave it to him. He said, "Oh, thank you. Well, it's gonna be my birthday tonight. I'm gonna celebrate with my w- with my um, with my wife in the hotel, etc., and give you feedback because it was 2 days. I was going for 2 days.
hmm,
I was excited, but the day after I said, "Oh, I don't know if you're gonna like it. Let's forget it, and we'll see." And I had even not time to say hello. He said, "Oh, Greg, I tried it yesterday. It was great." So I said, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. So
excellent,
that's why I'm explaining that to also for people to understand. That's why he understood I was passionate and invited me to blend in London, in his
right,
lab in 2007. Me, only me, because there were some groups
wow,
at some time that was going there, but I was invited personally there. And in the beginning, we had to spend only 2 hours together. And finally, he called me back. Can you stay a bit longer? I want to do other things with you, have dinner, etc. I said, oh, yeah, yeah.
excellent,
I had one of the most wonderful weekend there. I met also Doug McIver from Barry Brusson Rudd.
right,
This is the time where I tried my second Port Ellen, and I was completely blown away.
hmm,
It was a crazy weekend, 2007, and that confirmed me maybe I had something to do with blends. So I
hmm,
keep on experimenting, and every 2 years or so, I was getting back to John at festivals to say, "Can you try this and tell me if I'm any good, better than before, etc." And he assessed me from time to time my creations, and
hmm,
helped me to put out something better. Also, there are the people, I don't want to push the envelope too much to me, but
no,
there's other great people from the industry that tried it very kindly and give feedback, not always positive, mind you, but it helped me go to this. And now I'm around 68, 69 numbers.
Right.
And it's only 5 years ago I started to keep a wee sample of it as a
Hmm.
trace and also an evidence for if I meet professional people to say I created this.
Very
But
good.
before I didn't do that, and now I write everything. But and it's gonna evolve. I have contacts maybe to work with a French distillery. Like I said, it's a bit sensitive, so I cannot name
No.
already. But I'm working on 2 projects with them. So I hope
So
someday.
I'm gonna pick your brains here because I was actually glad. This is why I wanted to take the angle of the blending because I knew that you did really really enjoy it and something that you were obviously quite
But
good at.
can I add something? Sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
In the beginning, you said it's not a time of blends. I don't agree because for me, this is the time or never.
Hmm.
This is really the time of blend in the large term of blend. That's blending casks
Hmm.
because the distilleries, because of the shortage, even in Scotland, they are trying to create different things, different profiles, which doesn't necessarily is a good idea for me, but could be. So they're mixing wine casks, they're mixing different types of casks, virgin oak, etc. So they're experimenting, they're blending. Even for your regular single malts, you can have 4 or 5 different type of casks involved. Like the Port Charlotte I just bought. There's 3 recipes, and among them there's almost 5 or 6 different types of casks. So
Hmm.
blending is a thing, except for single cask. Everything you're gonna have on your collection will be blended.
Yeah.
Even it's not blended whiskey, the definition.
Yeah, it's
That's
a
what I
blend, it's
was.
blended casks. Yeah, it's because it actually gives. Well, the other thing is it's keeping these distilleries afloat, isn't it? That
Yeah,
don't
but it
show up.
can sink them if they don't do the right choices, in my
Well,
opinion.
that's obviously true as well. That's obviously true. And I mean, to cap that, Menno did say back a while ago here,
I'm sorry I
blending.
missed the chat while I was
That's right.
explaining.
Blending is ridiculously hard to get right,
Oh yeah, I
and
can tell.
it's just
One bad
something.
ingredient and it's gone. Sorry. One
Yeah.
bad whiskey and all your blend is gone. And I did that. So you
Well,
learn by your mistake.
I mean, even I've an old bottle that I was it was an infinity. I sort of started an infinity bottle, and I can tell you, I actually have the whiskey in front of me that spoiled it, and it was that, and it just everything just tasted like that for all I put in it.
Oh,
So it just
weird.
I yeah. So I just didn't. I mean, everything. I actually just
Did you
stopped sort of drinking it.
did you rinse the bottle before
Oh
blending?
yeah, 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 yeah. But it was, as I say, it was just a measure of this went into it, and
Mm,
and that has just it flavored everything else, and
okay.
it's sort of I tried to, and at some point I'm going to go back to it and try and I'll
Well,
actually pour it out and start again.
honestly, if I can give an advice to our viewers,
Hmm.
if people want to experiment this kind of things, and we know this can cost a lot of money if they do that for big quantities, please try first with a few malts only, malts and grains and whatever you want, in
Hmm.
small quantities sample. Let it stay a week well sealed before you retry it to let it marry together, and then you assess it. And if you're okay with that, you can continue maybe and multiply it in bigger amounts. But
Hmm.
please don't waste your whiskeys in 50 or 70 centiliters if you're not sure of what you're doing. Start with 5 or 10 centiliters if you like. So you're
And
gonna.
do you marry? Do you
Well,
have a
I don't have.
specific time that you marry everything in glass, or do you have a set time that everything, or do you just, is it one of those things that you just dip in as you go along and see whether it's ready, whether you think it's,
Well,
maybe I'm asking you
no, no,
trade
no,
secrets
no,
here.
no, no, no. This at the beginning I was letting a week and that's all, but now it can a creation can last before being approved, if I may say. It can last several months if I'm not okay with that.
Really?
If I'm not okay at all, I can also do a kind of infinity bottle, which I will drink more loosely, maybe with ice or so. But for the good stuff, if I may say, from the many I did only theoretically, and
Theoretically, yeah.
sometimes to put it to something real, blending the whiskeys together. But often I have a preconceived idea of what I'm going to do. It's like painting. I'm not super surprised now of what I'm doing because
Ah.
I kind of know what I'm doing
hmm
because I know my whiskeys. You
hmm
have to know your whiskeys well, and you have to let them interact 2 by 2, 3 by 3, not random, but what about you feel that could go together. And like I said somewhere else,
Oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but
no, a backbone.
so do you use like
Uh,
a base whiskey? Would you?
oh, yeah, sometimes yes. I can use something that's sweet, that's maybe too much rounded as a
hmm
as a base. Some space sides that are soft, some lowlands. I don't have enough grain whiskies to work on really blended whiskies, so I mostly work on blended malts or blended whiskies with a very high malt content, 99%, 95%. I should have sent you one.
I suppose these
Uh,
the grain whiskies, because I suppose the distilleries that are making grain whiskey for the big blends aren't available to buy. Just these whiskies just aren't available to buy off the
Not
shelf.
all, but there's more and more now since, let's say, 10 years and even more. And also,
hmm
there's something I did that was very good and bad at the same time. Bad for my collection, good for my blends. It's not at the beginning, but when I was enough, let's say, confident in the 2010-12 era, it was some kind of, even a bit before paradise time, something completely naive and probably stupid. It's that as I wanted to create something great, I put some of my best whiskeys in there. Port Ellen, 30, 40 years old stuff.
hmm
And yeah, some had to be good. And
Yeah.
then I was thinking they would last forever. But then we saw the price increase and also some distilleries. When I bought my Port Ellen, first one was 160 euros, second one 128.
Yeah.
Now we were counting on 2000s and 4000s. So I cannot put the same whiskies in there.
No.
Also, some I don't have anymore, and some I'm saving for tasting and also to share with my good friends to make them understand what was the thing before yesteryear. But also, for instance, and this is for Luna, if we manage to make her come here and you drum drinker, and maybe you, Jim, if you can. Um, for instance, if you put some beautiful single grain distillate in beautiful sherry butts and you
hmm
wait 41 years, you can have something very sexy,
hmm
very complex. And I dare anyone to blindly say it's a single grain.
Yeah.
This one I have, this the only whiskey I have from my vintage, 1965, 41 years old Carsbridge. It's the color is red. It's uh,
Wow.
it's almost red. I see it's as complete as something containing both Irish single pot still, best cognac, and best sherried single malt. It's so complex.
Yeah.
I rated it 98 out of 100. But these things you don't find them anymore of
Yeah.
5,000 euros.
Sorry. Uh, yes, Luna, sorry, just to answer your question. Yes, it was the porter cask. And sorry, there was a couple of questions, Greg, come in there. Peter
Oh,
wanted to know, do you use cask strength, or do you? So
sometimes,
it's
and
just
I dilute it sometimes as well.
Well, that was
Uh,
added to it. Do you experiment with watering it down to
yeah,
a certain ABV? So,
yeah, and until I'm satisfied,
mhm,
and also sometimes I will dilute directly the whiskeys before blending to have them almost the same ABV, but
right.
other times I want the strength better, higher for one compared to
Hmm.
the other for bigger influence. So it will be the contrary. So no real
Makes sense.
titles.
Makes sense.
Uh,
Sorry, go
so
ahead.
be. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yes.
Some. No, I don't know. I don't see the. Oh, so it's not to me. It's a question to whiskey to Toby from Des. Okay.
Uh, Sorry, I've moved on to the third
Yeah,
sample
yeah,
here.
yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah.
it's the Jameson
So rinse,
12-year-old.
yeah, rinse well your palate because we're moving back to blended whiskey. But I don't know the percentage in there, but it's so high for me that it's very close to a single pot still. Or not? You will tell me. Maybe you won't agree.
Well, this is just for anyone else, and I'm sure you'll show the bottle, but this is a store pick. Jameson
Yeah,
12-year-old
for
from the
France.
West, from France, from Maison Du Whisky.
Yeah, and it's for 2005. Bottling year 2005. There you go. And it's, see the color? I'm not sure. There's probably some caramel on it, but even without,
Yeah,
even with. And for those who wonder, it might be a bit old, sorry, but this is the regular 12, 40%, if I'm not, yeah. And
yeah, of
this
course.
one is 43,
43, yep.
but it's a small batch, if I may say. 5,000 bottles for France. And I opened the bottle, it's under the neck pour, but I had it several times at some friends where the level was lower and it was so much
Right.
powerful.
There's one for you,
Oh,
Greg.
oh, I'm a bit, yeah, maybe. I'm a bit annoyed because there's some people, friends told me, Greg, you're very passionate about whiskey, you're trying to do great blends, etc. But why are you so bad in cooking? It's because I don't know. Because I don't know, and also it's a long personal story, too long for here. But yeah, it was a time I was very much interested in it, and then I was a bit put off by family conflicts and reasons, and I simply gave up the kitchen, get away from the kitchen, and it's a pity because I would have known a lot of things now that my father is not there and my
Mhm.
mother is too much tired to do a lot of great specialty from my origins.
Well,
Okay,
stick to whiskey, Greg, because you're good at it.
so what do we get here?
This is an awful lot more powerful. It's
Strutila single, right? Oh, it's single malt only. Oh, Strathclyde, I think. Toby probably means Strathclyde, which belongs to Pernod Ricard. And that's the one we blended in the Chivas Challenge.
uh, have you ever put sherry into whiskey to make it better?
Oh, I will never do that. Fortified wine is wine, even it's fortified. Whiskey is grain. No, it's I know I will never do that. I may poison myself, or it will be too simply. No, more seriously, it would be simply too sugary. So no, it's a, and also the viscosity is different. No, I don't think it's a good idea. And you don't need that if you have a first fill sherry that's very
Yeah.
powerful. Just put a few drops in your quiet bourbon blend, and it's gonna start to show something.
Have you
But if you
ever,
put, yeah,
sorry, a personal question, have you ever worked with staves, as in putting wood in to and
I don't like the idea of rushing things, over oaking things. This was a big discussion with John, by the way, when he did Spice Tree, and then
right?
when he did Oak Cross. I preferred the oak cross option, where it was just the new oak on the heads,
Hmm.
oops, of the cask instead of putting inner
Yeah.
inside staves that are from different kind of oak, etc. So I find
This
it better when he did oak cross than when he did spice tree. But I have a beautiful spice tree which is bespoke for France
mhm.
also.
This seems to be a thing now that's come. And I didn't even the Shacolina cologne that I had in the last one, and they have the acacia heads on on these Shacolina. No, well, actually, they're ex. Is it still the ex? No, it's the Shacolina casks with the acacia heads on them. And it's do you know, is there enough? Is there many of them doing this where they're mixing the heads, mixing the
It's
wood? Obviously, they can't
no,
do it in Scotland.
no, it's new, and it's John who paved the way, I believe. And then there's other distilleries, for instance, in France, that use full acacia cask
Hmm.
uh, for several years. I tried some very bad distillates from small distilleries that I hated it, and I thought at the time it was the acacia's fault, but it was not, because I tried others, and I have an example here from a distillery I will work with probably. Well, we already started, but I'm not sure with all this COVID thing things will work well. That uses acacia cask as well for
Hmm.
one of their single malts, and it worked well. So I guess the problem is the quality of the cask,
Hmm.
the type of work you're gonna do to the cask. If you're gonna toast it, char it to the four. There's 4 degrees of charring and several degrees of toasting, um, and depends the quality of your distillate. Will it match with the quality of the cask, and what are you gonna do to the cask? If you
Hmm.
don't brutalize, I believe if you don't brutalize too much, the two they could fit well together. If you have a beautiful spirit, such as, for instance, Port Ellen spirit, it is much better for me when it's aging. We'll see now. For the first time in my life, I will see if I can afford them, which I'm not sure, what will be at probably 10 or 12 years old Port Ellen, which I
Hmm.
never tried yet. Some I really highly praise, but it was 30 years ago or 40 years ago. We're going to see now what does to the distillate to have a young cask. But
Yeah.
some whiskeys, some distillates are so delicate they need a refill bourbon or refill sherry two
Hmm.
times or 3 times to express themselves. Other ones need a big cask, a more oaky cask to compete with. So it's very difficult to say there's only one way doing whiskey, and
Hmm.
it's of what
No,
I know.
totally. Yeah, no,
Uh,
no, totally, totally. Sorry, right, Richard
yeah,
News in from Ontario. Good to see you, Richard. And we are just moving on to Jameson, 12-year-old, who says the store pick from whiskey to or Maison Du Whisky in France, bottled at 43%. Nose is definitely an awful lot louder than the two Bushmills we just had.
that's why
But
it's one of my skills to know
yeah,
where to put whiskies
put it in the
after a
flight,
few hours.
yeah.
I'm not too
but
bad
it's
at this,
but
usually.
it's loud nose, but it's very it's I would say it's punching above 43% on the nose, but
I don't feel it like that.
to me it's just got so much get in. It's not alcohol burn. It's not like as if it's over 43% where it's all out, but it just there's so much depth in that nose. An awful
I
lot
think
of
I think
orange to me.
as it is a smaller batch once again than those two we had, they probably picked, and it was a selection from the Thierry Benita. So even if I can be critical to the La Maison du Whisky, he knows what he's picking usually,
Yeah.
and he picked a really concentrated, very fruity, concentrated one, I believe.
Well, that there, as I say, that I'm getting a massive orange hit off the top.
Uh, Molasses not necessary for French bottling. It depends. It depends.
Uh, chocolate? Am I getting milk chocolate on that?
Yeah, yeah, maybe. It's hard for me to keep up the chat. I'm sorry, guys. I will
Yeah, oh
try.
no, they'll be all right. They're just having a wee love in with
So
themselves there.
yeah, I'm sorry if nobody had this one. It's really difficult to get it now. But if you come by, you might taste it. Oh, oh, so
Menno,
good
good
night,
night.
Menno. Thank you.
Thank you for joining in. Right, I'm going to taste this.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers,
Is there
Greg.
another word in Irish to say cheers in the Northern Ireland way?
No,
Or
it's just you see, sláinte would still be used.
okay,
We would use sláinte as well, but
sláinte.
everybody's doing it, so I just cheers.
But I don't know if it would handle well after the two others. But it's
It's
strong.
not as it's good
For
yet
me,
again.
it hasn't opened up enough yet. I'm sorry.
No, and the quality of
Compared to what I know it is,
mhm,
um, it's probably still needs to get to this point
mhm.
to explode the fruits. So it's a bit tight,
And it's amazing
but
that the quality of
eventually,
that Bushmills 21 now is
uh-huh.
firmly fixed in here as compared to this.
Maybe some water will wake it up. I'm
Mm.
gonna check.
Luna, good night.
Oh, good night,
Thank you
Luna.
for
Thanks.
joining in.
I don't know how many people are watching.
There are currently 11 in the group.
Yeah, the blackcurrant stuff is a bit awakened by a few drops. What did I wrote there? Yeah, I forgot to mention. I don't know if it's the right word. Something briny. I mean, like an old Pulteney. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, blackberries,
Mm-hmm.
some kind of burnt wood, also some leather, uh, some figs, a lot of stuff.
It's a slow burner at first.
Yeah,
There, it was just really all I was getting was sweet. It was very sweet on the first palate,
and
the first pass. But then
no, now it's developing.
yeah, as it rolls back,
Add some drops. Mm.
yeah, I've already added some water there. It definitely it's changed it.
But
And as
it's
you said,
another
black
one who
currant
needs
again.
time.
Kresimir, good night.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. It's just
yeah. I understand what Toby says, but as it is, still it is wine, my friend. It is not whiskey made of wine. So it's still not the same feel. And what I hate in some sherries that have been rushed and probably the cask not well rinsed. This is winey, very oxidated feeling that I hate in some sherries and also wine finishes. I don't want that, so I will never do that. It will enhance that a lot, in my opinion. If you want to do it, Toby. No problem. Everybody is free to do any experiment they want. It's just my opinion. I'm not a master blender, certified anything. I might be someday because I might try to work on some certification. I'd like to. Yeah, you've seen a
what I would do or what I tend to do and what I've done in the past is buy sherry. My wife likes sherry, and buy sherry for her, and
Mhm.
nose it is what I'll do. Is if she pours herself a sherry, and I will just sit and nose, because I don't like sherry as a drink on its own, but I would just sit and nose, and I love the smell of it. Just not a big fan of the mouth feel, the palate, that sort of thing. But just to sit and nose, and then to go into a whiskey, knowing that I've maybe had this Pedro Jimenez or
Yeah.
whatever sherry, and then go into a whiskey that I know has been finished or matured in the same way, and go in and try and find those notes rather than trying to mix the two through.
The peaks is so rich. If you had the occasion to try 12 years old or so, or more, peaks from a good brand, I had the occasion to try some with a big name of French cuisine, and he did some pastries paired with that, and it was absolutely stunning. But every sip you take of that peaks, it's so sugary, so sweet. You have the impression you're taking 5 kilos on you. So you gotta be careful.
Greg, this is a very, very good. It's certainly the best Jamesons I've had.
Oh, even over the 18?
I don't think I haven't had the 18 yet.
Okay. Well, I don't know the new 18 cask strength. It's way too expensive for me. Yeah, it's developing more. It's sweetening, and at the same time letting more vanilla. A bit of oak and sweet spices come through. And for me, it's a kind of bed for those black currant notes. That's softer than at the first sip without water. But a bit too spicy and too close on the oak. So it's difficult. Honestly, I don't sip as often Irish whiskies than I sip Scottish whiskies. I found them more difficult to enjoy and to assess if you're not in the mood for it.
Yeah.
It's some kind of criticism I will do for those whiskies. So it's very delicate, very special. So I gotta do a special separate session if I want to try my Irish.
I still tend to Irish. I still like pot still if I'm drinking Irish, and I can sit and sip pot still whiskey all night. Yet again, I could sit for an hour over a measure that size. Just take my time over it. Single malts, the blends. Good night, Peter. I like the single malts and the blends. To say these very good, but I just pot still. I will tend to go back to, and it'll be interesting to see now where the rest of these ones are going, because I know Cologne Whiskey Jason was saying this week about Cologne's experimenting, not necessarily experimenting, but going back to older ways of pot still, where the balance of malted and unmalted isn't necessarily the same. Irish whiskey itself, you're saying there, but it's not something you'll tend to sit over just the same as you would Scotch. I totally agree. I would be the same myself. But yet again, I had the debate. It's like bourbon. It's something nice for a change.
Yeah, and I have much more, if I can reassure you, I have much more Irish whiskies than French whiskies, and I know it's a shame, but the ratio of interesting things I found compared to Irish whiskies is not in favor to French whiskies yet. So I hope someday, there are some good that I don't have, but there's very small production, so hard to find, or very expensive for what they are. So I'm waiting a bit more, but I shall have a few more to do a special video about them, because I always have the same on the table, mostly from the two distilleries that for me are my favorite so far. So I always show the same, and I'm a bit annoyed by that. I like to be more eclectic, ecumenic.
Greg, I'm going to wrap it up there. If you hang around, I'll have a wee chat with you afterward. And I can't, once again, I can't thank you enough.
Okay. Can I ask, maybe it's a difficult question, the answer hasn't to be necessarily yes, no, I don't know. Which one of the three you will maybe like to get, or would, if you had the possibility to get, you will, oh, I want this one,
Well,
or
actually,
we are, I don't know.
well, actually, going and it was only whenever I went into that Jameson's, the first thing I thought was that 21 was special, wasn't it? And as I say, it got into me. I didn't realize how much it was in my head. And you actually, as I say, you've planted a seed there with me now, because
Sorry.
I hadn't I hadn't found that much blackcurrant in there until
Oh,
you
there's
said
more in the first one,
it was.
for
But
sure.
as soon as you said it, I found it in the other ones. So it's just
It's
something now
very,
that
very complex. It's so complex, that 21.
this is why I enjoy speaking to you. This is why I enjoy, because it's a free lesson for me, is the way I look at it. And I genuinely appreciate it, my friend. I really
Thank
do.
you so much. It's just my opinion, but
No,
thank you.
no. Look, everybody in here, I think, respects your opinion. So, listen, as I say, thank you. If you hang around, I'll have a chat with you afterward, and
Yeah, yeah,
I'll get rid of this shower here first, and then we can. Thank you,
yeah.
everybody,
Thank
for
you,
coming
guys.
in.
And thank you, Jim, for having me. A real pleasure always.
Cheers, Greg. Speak to you soon. Uh, yes, thank you all for being here tonight again. It was an absolute pleasure to have Greg on. It was an absolute pleasure to be back, and I will be back again in 2 weeks, as I do. And at uh, I'm looking at a little note from my guest who will be here in 2 weeks, right in front of me. But I'll not say who it was. We'll leave it as a little surprise, and we'll go for now, shall we? And I'll just say thank you again. As I said, I'll be back in 2 weeks. Good night.